Worlds are created at the bright beginning of our young solar systems. They were destroyed. Gas giants cause chaos and the young sun rages. How has Earth survived against all odds? As we gaze down from space, we marvel at Earth's vast oceans, its continents, and the life-giving atmosphere. We wonder, how did this planet start? It is how did it become a support for life? And how did it come to support Earth's life? The Milky Way is a spiral galaxy that contains the story of Earth. It is home to swirling dust clouds, glowing gas, and is 100,000 light-years across. This simulation shows 50 million years of time, just a blink of an eye. In that time, millions of stars are destroyed by supernovae. These flashes show how many stars have been affected. They are responsible for the creation of the planets. There are many elements that make up carbon, iron, silicon, and other metals. One explosion is powerful enough to bring down a nearby cloud containing stardust. The core of the cloud is being flooded with enormous amounts of dust and gases. This cloud is approximately as cold as the entire universe can get. The more compact it is, the faster it heats up. Its center is a tornado of dust, gas, and ice crystals. Its eye heat soars, a star ignites, and our sun is created. Slowly spinning disk feeds the sun. Our solar system's cradle. In the disk planets, a long and violent process takes place. It all starts with dust being gathered into sand-like particles. They produce small objects of pebble size within the clouds of loose rock. Over many millions of years, gravity pulls them together to form rocks and ice balls. These objects become miniature planets, also known as planetesimals. One such body is the primordial Earth. But its fate is still in question. It was once believed that planet formation follows a predictable pattern. With their almost circular orbits, our planet neighbors prove this. This is evident in the neat division among gaseous outer worlds. Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and the rocky inner worlds. Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars. Soon after a star explodes, this division is born. The young sun creates hot winds that push lighter hydrogen gas to its outer parts. Large gas planets that grow beyond the ice line are quickly fueled by gas pushed out of the sun. This dusty region is devoid of gas or ice and where rocky planets like Earth develop. This is not how most solar systems end up. Newer planet-finding telescopes have found that gas-rich planets as large as Neptune regularly patrol the inner regions. Jupiter-sized giants weighing in at Jupiter were found orbiting the star so close that they are being affected by hot stellar winds. Super-Earths are a group of large, rocky planets. How did they get there? Why is our inner planet so small? Asteroids haven't changed much since their formation almost 5 billion years ago. This is what we learn about the formation of our solar systems. They burn up in our atmosphere because they are too small. Some of them survive the fall, but others are larger. Scientists were able to measure molecular variations known as isotopes to locate these planetary shards. They are likely to have come from two different asteroid populations, one in the inner solar system and one in the outer. It is possible that something caused a wedge to form between these two regions. This would have prevented the objects from mixing. This great divider must have been the young Jupiter. It would have stopped matter from entering the inner solar systems, which would have slowed down the formation and growth of large rocky planets called super-Earths. Jupiter would then play an important role in one chapter in the history and evolution of our solar system. Supercomputers are used to simulate Jupiter's rise. They simulate the interaction of gas, dust, ice, and boulders in the early solar systems. Each ring shows the orbit of any potential planet. Blue shows the orbit of giant Jupiter, which forms at its periphery. Jupiter becomes more and more dependent on the inner solar system's gravitational pull. It spirals towards the Sun. Scientists call Jupiter's biggest move the Grand Tack. It is named after the sailboat that tacks in the wind. Jupiter weaves through clouds and debris as it goes. It does not swallow what it doesn't eat, and it is thrown out of our solar system. The more Jupiter is drawn closer to the Sun, it clears out the cosmic clutter. The simulation tracks Jupiter from its orbit to the orbit of current-day Mars. Jupiter's bold move has further reduced the outer solar system's mass. Any planets that are found there will be small. Saturn, another massive planet, will grow large enough that Jupiter can be pulled back out. Earth was then an embryo of the planet that would become. Earth, along with a few hungry competitors, are free to search the inner solar systems for scraps. It all depends on the cosmic draw. Over the 50 million years since Jupiter left the inner solar system, the planets have been in a wild roller derby. As the remaining worlds tug at one another, their orbits become unstable. Collisions are inevitable between them. The only thing left are a handful of worlds that would have been, including the planets known today and at least one more. It was found in the aftermath of one of most important milestones in the history of human exploration. 1969 Apollo 11 takes off on July 16. The US heavy-lift launch vehicle, the Saturn V rocket, successfully delivered its payload 13 times. From 1969 to 1972, 6 Apollo spacecrafts drifted across the Moon's surface 6 times. You can see the Moon in person. They made experiments. They made measurements. As they walked or drove across alien terrain, they collected rocks. As the astronauts returned to Earth, the whole world cheered. Their achievements were an inspiration for optimism. It was a beacon of light in a dark world. They were the first humans to explore beyond Earth and reach another world. It was not known at the time that the rocks brought back to Earth would spark a chain of major discoveries regarding Earth and the Moon. NASA scientists discovered that rocks from Earth have a lot in common with rocks from the Moon. These rocks share the same forms of oxygen that are considered blood types for solar system's bodies. They share a common, violent history. The lunar surface is a record of that history. Concentric rings surround the Moon, which is dotted with old craters. They can be clearly seen in this recent NASA Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter image of the Mare Orientale. The rings are evidence that a large impactor struck the surface of a boiling, hot liquid, sending ripples around. There were a few small rocks scattered about the landing areas. These are likely to have been pushed to the surface by more heavy material as it fell into the magma. They also discovered rocks later called creep because of their constituents potassium and rare earth elements. These anorthosite rocks are the result of a molten crust. What made the Moon an ocean of molten stone? And what's the connection to Earth? The most popular theory explains that the Earth was formed 4.5 billion years ago. Earth may have had volcanoes in its past, but this would be due to a thin toxic environment. Our planet has successfully survived the process of planet creation. It awaits the next phase of its life. Another planet, half its size, is on the horizon. This is Theia. It's a possible world. Its journey to Earth ends here. Imagine Earth looking out at the threat that is looming large. Theia rocked Earth to its core. The impact shatters a third our planet, but instead destroying it, Theia makes Earth part of itself. Computer simulations capture the first 24 hours. The collision creates a dense atmosphere of vaporized and dissolved rock that envelopes Earth. The cloud becomes a ring, which is a belt made of molten rock. The majority of the orbiting material falls to the ground, but what is left gathers in a single, beautiful body, Earth's closest companion, the Moon. The impact causes our planet to spin rapidly and tilt slightly on its axis. The Moon orbits closer than Earth today. Without its surface, the sky would have been full of it. As the Moon moves into a closer orbit, it exerts a drag that slows Earth's spin and steadies its tilt. The Moon acts as a reminder about the catastrophic event that nearly brought down our planet. However, it will be a constant and a source to stability, beauty, and, ultimately, happiness. However, the violence was not over. Contrary to Earth, where erosion has erased all evidence of the distant past, the Moon preserves a record of the battering that took place. The lunar surface's many craters are evidence of the bombardment of Jupiter and Saturn 4 billion years ago. To model the Earth's impact, a recent study used the size and number lunar craters. At most 4 impacts would have been sufficient to alter the course and reshape the surface of the Earth. These impacts blasted into a crust rich with radioactive uranium or potassium, removing these elements from our planet and sending them into space. This is called impact erosion. The crust would then cool down faster when the impacts died down. It is thought that less damaging impacts have either carried in huge amounts of water or released water from deep beneath the surface. Earth is now a world made up of water, 500,000 years after its birth. Its oceans extend to the horizon and are only broken by volcanic islands. Waves rumble. While still in orbit, the Moon whips up waves that lash volcanic shores. Earth's atmosphere consists of a mixture of carbon dioxide, hydrogen, and nitrogen as well as water vapor. The sun's rays have made land and sea rich in chemicals. The Earth has all it needs for its final feat, to nurture life. There's just one problem. Its water is slowly disappearing. Although the sun is still much brighter than it was today, its young sun can still be affected by powerful flares. They hit the Earth's atmosphere. It can cause damage to water molecules, such as H2O, when a solar particle strikes one. The lighter hydrogen is emitted into space while the heavier oxygen sinks below the surface and binds to rocks. Now we know how devastating this can be. NASA's spacecraft observations reveal that Mars has ample water resources. The meandering rivers of ancient rivers have left their mark on its surface. They also leave behind sediments that have been deposited on ocean and lake beds. Mars today is a dead world. The planet is covered in a thin layer of carbon dioxide, and there is very little water. Special sensors placed in orbit around spacecraft have shown that Mars's upper atmosphere is losing water. It has been affected by solar radiation. Scientists have also observed the same process in Venus, Earth's twin planet. As a result, Venus's current atmosphere contains a host of noxious chemicals including thick sulfurous cloud. Venus's atmosphere at the surface is choked by high levels carbon dioxide, a potent greenhouse gas that traps sunlight's heat. Venus is a hot pot of CO2. Venus has the highest surface temperatures in the solar system, at almost 500 degrees Celsius. The hostile environment is exacerbated by the presence of active volcanoes on its surface that spew sulfur dioxide and other gases. How can Earth escape such a fate? 1. Earth has a protective shield which Mars and Venus lack. It's a magnetic shield that blocks the sun's most powerful radiation waves. This magnetic field, which is formed by the heat exchange between Earth's core and its crust early in our planet's history, is a legacy from rapid surface cooling. It is only one line of defense. Volcano rattles, a second line of defense, began to simmer on the planet's surface around 4 billion years ago. Life. There are long-held theories that life's crucible is in the eruptions of volcanic vents undersea. Over long periods of heat and chemical reactions, proteins and nucleic acid were created. This is the chemistry that gives life its chemistry. Hot springs and other volcanic structures are being suggested as a possibility. We don't know the exact origins of life. It is known that it existed and that it spread due to a crucial breakthrough: the ability to convert sunlight into energy. Photosynthesis is the process that fuels plants and was first discovered in simple bacteria more than 3 billion years back. One of the most powerful supercomputers on the planet has been used to study its chemical secrets. First, capture sunlight. After passing through a transparent membrane, we reach the center of bacteria and find a group of spherical containers. Each one has special sensors to capture solar energy. A photon is excited by the sun's rays and creates rings of chlorophyll molecules. This energy is carried across a variety of proteins, the machines which make life possible. Through a series of chemical reactions, electrons and proton carry the energy. These reactions are powered by energy from the sun. It is now up to the cell to convert it into action. The protons are the key to getting things moving. They move toward a huge molecular structure by rushing into watery spaces in the cell. They turn a protein into an electrical charge as soon as they enter. This is a crucial chemical reaction for all living things on Earth. Two molecules come together to form ATP, as shown in blue. It is the universal energy currency that every cell has ever known. ATP can be described as a biological battery. It stores energy from sunlight and is repackaged into a stable form so that it can be used by the cell to burn food, fuel locomotion, or to produce new cells. ATP-enabled microorganisms flourish and evolve. Photosynthesis, which is a form of photosynthesis that produces oxygen from the sunlight, was used by bacteria to create plants. Oxygen. This new supply of oxygen exceeded the amount absorbed by land and oceans. It formed a new water molecule by binding with hydrogen in its atmosphere, which prevented it from escaping into space. The process would slowly stop the loss in Earth's oceans. However, this is not a complete solution. A recent study found that 25% of the original water stores on Earth have been lost. The remarkable planetary engine was created when water started to work with the sun and the geology all over the planet. The climate. Climate is affected by solar heating's unevenness due to the cycle of day and night and the seasons. These factors help to moderate global temperatures. They send warm tropical winds toward poles and cold polar wind toward the equator. Tides and currents combine the cold water of the deep with that from the surface. Water vapor traps solar energy and carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. Life is what keeps CO2 in check. It's abundant in the oceans. Microscopically sized phytoplankton absorbs CO2 that is emitted into the oceans by waves and drawn up by currents. They move the carbon atoms along the food chain. Phytoplankton is eaten by zooplankton like these radiolarians. This creature dates back to over 500 million years ago when life began to explode across the oceans. Copepods, a tiny insect-like crustaceans that are the single largest source for protein in the ocean, can be moved up in size. Larvae of octopus are part of a huge zoo of creatures that is smaller than your fingers. They are often eaten by small fish which then in turn get eaten by larger creatures. Each step of the food chain, the carbon that originated as a diffused gases in the air is passed on to larger and larger animals. The more massive the organism, the higher the carbon content. The marine ecosystem is made up of many species, including whales and tiny phytoplankton. It removes CO2 from the atmosphere and slowly releases it back. Earth's ability long-term to store CO2 is key to the carbon cycle. A NASA satellite has been tuned to detect chlorophyll, a chemical tracer that helps plant growth. Plants release oxygen in harmony with the seasons. They take in huge amounts of carbon dioxide, while also releasing it. When animals and plants die, carbon dioxide finds its way to the ground. The Earth is also involved in the process. Exposed rocks absorb carbon dioxide from rainwater, which is then eroded into the oceans. Carbon-rich material can sink all the ways to the sea floor as waste if it becomes part of the marine food chain. Over time, carbon-rich sediments may become oily or rock like limestone. Carbon can also return to the atmosphere if rocks are exposed or the Earth starts to erupt. Each year, more than 100 million tons carbon dioxide are released by volcanoes into the atmosphere and oceans. Carbon cycle has made our planet more habitable by its ability to act on time scales ranging from a few days to many years. It is only possible because of the life that exists. Earth today is endowed with land, ocean, and atmosphere. With light, warmth, and harmony. With life that's abundant and in balance. As we examine the details of what makes our planet tick, we are amazed at how it was possible. Supernovas aftershocks. The violence of Jupiter. A chance collision. A moon is the gift. The water and the life. Our planet's past becomes more complex the more we are able to reconstruct it. We soon realize the number of other solar systems out there. It is possible that Earth is just one of the many habitable worlds found in a galaxy filled with life. It's a remarkable twist of fate. Amazing convergence of chance, energy, and chemistry. The planet has become a paradise. But is this the only one?